welcome to Breaking into Tech. I'm really excited because not only do I have one guest, but I have two guests who graduated from Sabio, and they're going to talk about their experience. So, welcome to the show, Trey and Martisha. I'm so excited to have you here.
Nice to be here. Thanks for inviting
It's
us.
awesome to be here. Definitely happy to be on this side.
No, not the interview side. Yeah. So let's learn a little bit about who you guys are. You can both go one at a time and explain like why you guys are together on this interview.
So I'm Martisha, and this is my husband Trey.
And I'm Trey.
Yeah, so we actually started the program together. I was the one who brought up the idea to him about like just getting into tech in general. So I basically put it all together, and he just joined along with me.
Yeah.
But we're married. We've been married for almost 2 years now, and we are expecting our first child next month. So,
Congratulations! How exciting!
And
That's
so,
gonna change life.
oh yeah,
yeah,
oh
definitely a
yes,
life changer. But yeah, and so I'm from Jackson, Tennessee, and she's also, well, small town Jackson, Tennessee. She's from Memphis, Tennessee.
Yeah.
And so, like I said, I grew up in a small town. Went to college. That's where we met in college as well. And so it's actually pretty crazy because today is actually a special moment because today is the day that we actually started at Sabio
Last year, yeah.
last year. And
Yeah.
so it's amazing that we had this interview on the exact day that we started last year.
Yeah.
Um, and then also just getting into this, she would often like throughout the year she would bring up, I want to get into tech. And for me, that term was so broad that it kind of scared me. Like I didn't know what that looked like. I was kind of fearful. We had a few different ventures that we got into over the time and over the course. And so eventually it just got to the point where it felt like we had no other choice. And so what I mean by that is that we would be door dashing and Uber Eats and things like that to get by, and it only gave us the opportunity or the chance just to get by. And so we knew we needed to make a change somehow and do something different. And so that's how we kind of got into tech.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it sounds like you guys were trying to get by. You were filling the gap with Uber and DoorDash and whatever way you could bring income, and you needed that financial security. And so you guys took the leap. How did you find out about Sabio specifically?
So for me, when I was doing my research about like coding itself, Sabio kept showing ads on YouTube. Like I would look at different people's experiences on just like getting into tech period and getting into software engineering. And each time an ad would pop up, it would be Sabio. And I would see this 19-year-old girl, I think, and she would say, like, I'm making six figures, like straight out of high school. And I'm like, let me look into this program. And so I clicked on the link, immediately signed up for an info session, immediately put in my information, and then got on the info session. But yeah, it was Sabio kept promoting itself to me.
It actually was pretty crazy because in the midst, like we was DoorDash and doing Uber Eats while we was on the info session. So I'm like getting out the car to drop the food off,
So
and
you
we on
just
the info
listen.
session and just listening in the midst of everything. And so I just want to brag on her a little bit, like because she definitely goes in depth. She's a really great researcher, and she looks at reviews. She watches YouTube
Yeah, I
videos,
did all of it.
and just trying to really figure out how we can do this. And so coming from the side of the world that we're on, side of the US that we're on, we don't really see like too many people that's in this industry because the tech world is all on the kind of
A
the West
lot on
Coast
the West
or more so New York in that area. So like our side of things didn't really get that exposure. And that's like the biggest thing with us going into this is the exposure that not only we got, but the exposure that the people from our hometowns was able to see, and from the success that we had, it also kind of domino effect to other people around us as well too.
Yeah,
And
I
so
agree.
her research, it really kind of catapulted us to jump into this. And like one of the things that I found really cool with Sabio is they had like this music video.
Oh
and
yeah,
so
that
and
was
so that
fun.
was really cool to see. But they're very like creative in the things that they do, using TikTok, using so many different avenues to get themselves out there.
Yeah,
So
it works.
Yeah. And because you guys aren't based in California, I'm assuming you guys did it virtually. And so that was
Mhm.
another advantage that you had. You didn't have to relocate to California, which, if you're trying to make ends meet with Uber and DoorDash, it makes it out of reach. So,
Yeah, most
yeah,
definitely.
it's important too to point out that this was around the time COVID-19 was kind of in the heights of it, and so I believe like a year or two at that time, Sabio had just kind of went almost
Virtual.
fully virtual, and so us also seeing that, it was like great timing for us to hop in there, and
Yeah.
so
yeah. So, when you went to the info session, what did you learn about Sabio?
Um. So I just saw the success stories for me. I saw that I couldn't remember the percentage, but a lot of their students got jobs after graduating, which was very important to me because I saw a lot of different boot camps, but I wasn't sure, like how many people are actually successful in it. So when I saw that number, I immediately just was like, I'm on it. And another option, I mean, another reason too that I chose Sabio because at that time they had the pay after you get a job option, and that's what I really needed because I didn't have the money at the time. I didn't really want to wait like 3 months to save because with DoorDash and Ubering, it was also like just getting by. So that option was the best option for me um to start Sabio. Sorry.
Yeah, yeah.
I'll go
Go
ahead.
ahead, Trey.
Okay, and so kind of to come from where she was coming from on that is that with Sabio, the pay later, it really helped us in the position that we was in, and I'm highly grateful for that, because it gave us that opportunity to be able to join the program, find a job that's paying this amount,
Mhm.
and paying after. Like that was a beautiful. I feel like this is a beautiful program that they do that, or did that at the time, and it really helped us out in our situation. So.
Yeah, and also on the info session, just finding out that you can be a beginner,
Mhm.
because that was a different another thing
Oh
for
yeah,
us
yeah.
too. We didn't have experience at all with coding. I had heard about coding, but didn't even know what it was. Didn't know how easy or difficult it could be. So just learning that a beginner could do it. We'll graduate. We will have a job after we graduate. They'll help us through the process, like with the different mock interviews, alumni, different things like that, and then also the pay later option. Those were the best.
Yeah.
Yeah, same for me as well too. I had no coding experience. It's actually pretty crazy because at my high school they did have like a curriculum that had coding, but I never knew like what exactly that was, or how it related to computers and things like that, or how much tech has to offer financially as well. And so in my background, I went to college and kind of didn't know what I really wanted to do. I was looking into mechanical engineering, but then they didn't have the program anymore. So I jumped into nursing, and that just wasn't working out. So I decided to get into communication, sports broadcasting, and I was doing the whole like sports and kind of working behind the scenes on camera and on production and things like that. And so that's kind of where my background comes from. It had nothing to do with coding at all. So.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there's a lot of people who don't know about the opportunities that coding can offer, like the financial stability,
Mhm.
and that you can do a 17-week boot camp. And they also now have the part-time option that's, I think it's 21 weeks, but it's not as intense of time commitment, just longer time commitment. And how easy it is to like change your life, because
Yes.
you guys, it's been a year since you started, not since you started at your new job. So would you say that your life has changed?
Oh,
It's a
yes. Oh yes, tremendously, definitely, most definitely.
Tremendously. And so it's actually pretty funny, like in the midst of going through the boot camp and kind of all the way up. I don't know if we should like express this, but we still tried to make sure that we did DoorDash and Uber because we did go like a long route, but it was still more so like we still needed that extra leverage to be able to live. And so in the midst of that, we still had to kind of figure that out and make it happen. But our life has definitely been changed full
Forever.
360
Yeah.
forever as well. And not only ours, but it's transforming our families' lives, our friends. Like it's so many people that like we kind of paved the way for them to get into the tech field and be successful as well.
Yeah. Yeah, our
Yeah.
lives have definitely changed a
Yeah.
whole lot. And also we've had two friends to complete it, and they have jobs now making six figures. They're 23. They're around our age as well. And we have family members in Sabio right now. So yeah, it has changed.
Yeah.
Not
It's
only our
amazing.
lives, but like a lot of people's lives.
It's amazing.
So you guys have passed on your knowledge to other people, friends and family to you're like, it's changed our life. You
Yeah.
should take the leap. It'll change your life too. That's awesome to hear. You're like a
Yes.
walking billboard for Sabio.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that's how it's been.
my dad, he actually is about to enroll, and my sister, she's currently enrolled as well as her husband. So it's just like and other friends that we had in the course. So it's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah, that's really crazy. That's awesome though. So let's talk a little bit about your time in Sabio. Obviously, you learned how to code, but what would you say like was the biggest thing that you took away from the whole coding boot camp experience?
Ooh, ooh, I learned a whole lot. Let's see what do you.
Yeah. For me, I would say one of the things that I learned was like the I really like the flexibility and the openness, the transparency that tech offers as well too. And just like the benefits that come with everything, like how you don't have to feel tied down to a specific place or a specific job or feel like you have to stay at a place forever. And
Yeah,
then also too
good
just
career
the
fish.
the camaraderie that Sabio had. Like it felt like everybody was looking out for each other. Like of course it was times where it was tough, it was hard, and it was a boot camp. Um, but Sabio truly cared about the members, the fellows, a part of the nation, and so everybody stick together. Even like after people graduate, they come back and they speak, or they come back and work with Sabio and getting people jobs or telling like a job that's hiring things like that. Like I see it in our chat all the time where people share jobs, where people are at a job and they like we got this position open, or startup companies of students that came from Sabio. Like it's just so many resources and so many networking spaces to where you can put yourself in a position to not only find a job but be successful in that. So Sabio definitely did a great job of keeping that family vibe going.
For me, I would say also learning to effectively work on a team. Because I've been on teams before, and it was drama and it was like chaos. But when we started our project together and with the startup, working on a team, doing stand-ups every day, code reviews, and actually just creating a deeper relationship within our team, because some teams are just strictly business, but just learning about people's backgrounds and people's struggles that they're going through and just continuing to push each other, that was very, very helpful. As well as just like with the job hunt, that was a big thing for me as well, because normally when you're applying for jobs, we thought we were applying for a lot. Like if we were
That's
like,
that's a good point.
like usually
That's a
you
great
apply
point.
like, oh, I've applied for 10 this week. I'm
Yeah,
doing so great. But with Sabio, it's an extra push. Like I need you to apply for 50 a day. And so that was a really like eye
eye
opener.
opener for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But it
yeah.
just makes sense. Like the more applications you put out, the
Yeah,
better chance of
it's all
interviews.
about the numbers.
Yeah.
Like, I'm glad you mentioned that because that's something that before going into this I
Didn't
didn't
know.
know,
Yeah.
or like even the star method. Like they taught us the star method. Excuse me. When it comes to applying for jobs and using that to your advantage, to be able to get a job. Like I didn't have these tools and resources going into jobs that I was applying for, which I probably would have got the job had I known how the flow goes behind the scenes. And so, which is actually good that I didn't get these jobs because I wouldn't be here today. So
True.
So it
That's
all
true.
worked out. But I
Yeah.
loved how you guys talked about like the benefits and like obviously at coding boot camp you learn how to code, like that's what you do, but Sabio offers so much more than that. They offer you the support to get a job. They have all these tools and resources. And then you mentioned how they're like a family, and that's something that's come up over and over about how there's a community and a family, and like people are coming back to talk on Breaking Into Tech about their experience of going through the program, and they're excited. They're not just like, "Oh, I guess I'll be here." They're like excited and they want to support. And then you guys are sharing your experience with your family and your friends and changing their lives. And so I love that it's not just like a coding boot camp where you learn how to code, but there's so much more to it.
Yes.
definitely,
That's so
yes.
true.
Yeah. So you mentioned a little bit about your project. Can you talk a little bit about what you guys were doing with the startup?
Yeah, this is very crazy too. We were both on the same
Same.
team. So I'm like, I wanted us to do different teams because we're married and we're always together. We're working from home together. So I'm like, we need different experiences. But it was fine. It worked out. But we were on the project called Interrogas. And it was
You gotta roll the R's into rogas.
Interrogas. Okay. That's what they always got on us about too. But it was like an election based website for Mexican citizens. And so I was responsible for the parties tab and just the locations of where people could vote and things like that. And you were
I
over
was
the
over the surveys
surveys.
page. And so it's actually pretty interesting because now that I'm on the other side, and I it kind of feel funny because it's like it pushed you, and like the more you learn, the more that you know. So like going back, I probably could like just do that whole page, no problem. But it was
Yeah,
like
then
piece by piece, then just trying to implement what we learned in such a short amount of time. It was really cool. It was really fun. But yeah, I worked on the surveys page and like putting different buttons, showing like different options to where it shows like the different answers or the different questions, things like that. So it was cool.
yeah.
Yeah, and you said that that helped you learn how to be on a team because you guys were working together and you had your
Yes.
stand-ups and
Mhm.
yeah.
We had to do code reviews and
Yeah,
review each other's codes and run through the presentation multiple times.
yeah.
We had a lot of trouble with that. But yeah, just building that relationship with our team it was an amazing experience.
Yeah. That's awesome. So, let's talk a little bit about like graduation and the job hunt, and at a certain point when you're in the program, shortly before you graduate, they say, "All right, it's time to start applying for jobs." So, what was that process like for you guys?
Whew.
So for me, I didn't really know, like in the beginning, I didn't know what to expect. Because they really didn't give like a lot of information towards the end. It was more so like we in this boot camp, like we're not thinking about that right now. Like
Yeah,
no need to think about that when the time get here, then that's when it's gonna be game on. And so at that time, it was like what 2 weeks
2 weeks
2 weeks before
graduation.
graduation where we do the project, but we also focus on applying for jobs. We focus on resume. Well, let me back up. We focus on resumes. Then we focus on applying for jobs and also getting your LinkedIn
LinkedIn.
together and just all these different tools. And so one of the things that Sabio does is you have to go through this whole review process of like multiple times showing your resume to instructors. They teach you how what needs to go on there, what needs to be taken off.
Mhm.
And then also your cohort members also look at your resume
And
just to make sure,
LinkedIn.
and LinkedIn just to make sure it's in tip top shape. And I really like that because I didn't, like I said, I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know how like this was gonna go. And like we said earlier, they make sure that you are applying for jobs, over applying for jobs, as many jobs as possible, because it's all about the numbers, you know. And if you just so focus on this one job, it's a big possibility you're not gonna get that job. So it's
Yeah.
like the more jobs that you apply for, the more chance that you have on landing an interview, on landing a tech assessment, and then landing the job as well. And
Yeah.
so
So yeah, that process was it was fun. It was fun. we definitely applied, especially for us. We knew that we weren't like this was our only option. We didn't have another option. So we like really applied for jobs like over the amount. Like if they said 50, we're doing 70, we're doing 100. Like I made sure to apply for as many jobs as I could each and every day. And
Yeah, I'm waking up early in the morning while going to Starbucks. Starbucks was like right beside our apartment, so I would walk to Starbucks and just be in there applying for jobs all morning, and then go and DoorDash and Uber because we still. It's like that process. It didn't stop. You know, it's like you don't know when exactly you're gonna land a job, so
yeah,
you just gotta work as hard as you can. And see, the thing about us is we had no other options, so we couldn't quit, we couldn't fall out, we couldn't just give up because we knew that we wanted to change the trajectory of our life. And so we just knew we had that faith to keep going, to keep pushing, and knowing that eventually we both was gonna land jobs.
yeah. But I think the most helpful thing for me in that process was the mock interview that we all have to do with the
Mom,
alumni,
yeah.
because that is how I landed. Well, we both landed at Amazon was from that alumni interview, getting a recommendation from a previous alumni for
Mm,
both of us. Yeah.
yeah, that's a great point too.
Yeah.
So in that time and in an amount of time, also what Sabio does is connect you with previous Sabio fellows who got jobs at other places. Like it was a few guys that got jobs at Amazon. And so they had us like they had this whole chat that gave you a lot of resources to make sure your resume was good, to make sure you knew about the leadership principles at Amazon, like all of these different things, giving you the principles in the game in order to put yourself in a position to get the job. And so I highly thank both of them because they really helped us to get ourselves ready for those positions and for those interviews, which really helped us.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we have a question in the comments, which I don't know if you guys know the answer. It'll be interesting, but Guillermo is asking, do you think Chat GPT or any other AI tech will reduce employment opportunities, especially for junior developers?
I don't.
Go ahead.
I was
Go
about
ahead.
to say I don't think so. All of the job openings that I'm seeing, they want C Sharp, React, JavaScript. They're not like. I mean, of course, AI is there, and of course, it's growing. But I don't feel like it will reduce employment. It's just about what are you looking to do. There's different jobs for different languages, so I don't think that would affect it at all.
Yeah, I've came across this conversation. I think somebody asked the same question before, and in my opinion, same. I don't really necessarily think it will, but I think it's possible for them to start building those stuff like the GPT because, like we're getting smarter with the AI, but they'll still need people to create those things. If we move to that, that we'll still need people to create like the AI. And so I think it'll probably be like if so it'll be on down the line. It won't be as soon as like in this time. So I think it'll
Yeah.
still be employment for junior developers with little
Definitely.
experience.
I read the book The Future is Faster Than You Think, and it was really interesting when it talked about AI, but it always talked about how there's like a human aspect to it. And if AI keeps growing, which I think it will, that still requires developers, and like
Right.
maybe the job will change, but there'll still be opportunity. And uh the internet, like for every job that the internet took, it added 10 jobs. And I think AI is the same thing. Like AI is going to change the workspace and the landscape, but for every job that it takes, I think it's going to make more opportunities and more places that people can work. So I think that's an interesting question. It's something that I think about as a writer because there's like new AI, Chat GPT for like writing, but
Yeah.
I think there's a human aspect that's needed for a lot of different aspects of work that we do. And so I think it's more of like a partnership and not being replaced.
Yes, I agree with that.
Yes.
I agree.
And they have another question, which actually is perfect for where we're at. But how long did it take between when you graduated and you got hired?
Okay, so I remember dates really well.
She
So we
does.
graduated last year, June 17th. And so with Amazon, I got the offer letter on July 22nd.
Okay.
So a month, I guess.
We gotta go more into detail on Amazon though. But yeah, but so and I landed at Amazon. We both landed at Amazon. And so I
I
think
think
I
the
got
next
my
day.
offer letter. It was like the 28th,
Oh,
29th. It was like the end
20.
of July.
Oh,
And
okay.
we both graduated in June. So
About
within
a
a month,
month. Yeah.
and that's like, that's basically putting in applications, doing all the things that you need to do, and not like being lackadaisical about it or not slowing up, like really putting out those applications and going hard on those
But
things.
I do want to mention there were people in our cohort that got jobs before we even graduated. So
Yes.
it's just depends on you.
Even our friends that we helped out, she
She
got
got
a
a
job
job.
like 2 weeks after her graduation. So it's
Yeah.
like
It just
she beat
depends on
us.
you. It
Yeah, it's
just
all
depends
about the
on
work
you,
ethic.
where you apply, how do you do in the interviews. But yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And then
Yeah.
they also asked what was the starting salary. So we are in the apprenticeship program, and so they were paying 53.13 an hour with the $10,000 sign-on bonus. So that was both of us.
Blessing,
I
for
think
sure.
I think the actual salary calculation was like 110,000, and then plus the 10K sign-on bonus. So yeah,
So yeah, great
Awesome.
starting salary. And this only the beginning.
yeah.
Like
Yeah.
you just go up from here.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. Thank you for being so open and transparent.
Oh yeah, that's what I
Yeah.
always wanted to hear
Yeah.
when I would watch other people. I wanted to hear the numbers because I wanted to know it was possible.
Yeah.
And I know some people don't like to talk about it, but I'm very open. I don't really have an
Yeah,
issue.
see that's one of the things we liked about most people in the tech industry is that they're open to sharing their salary
Mhm.
because it helps other people see where they can be or where they could be or where they want to be, and it helps also keep from the discrimination of different people,
Mhm.
getting paid more, getting paid less
Right.
type of
Yeah.
thing. So
Yeah, it's kind of like something that people don't want to talk about, but that
Mhm.
actually hurts people because then you don't talk about, what the salary should be, and you might
Right.
be getting paid a lot less than you should be. So that makes a lot of sense.
Yes.
So, you guys, I know Amazon has a pretty intense interview process. So, if you could go back before the interviews, what would you tell yourself?
um
So
you
for
want
the
to go ahead.
apprenticeship program, it actually wasn't as bad
Okay,
Yeah.
that's
as I
good.
thought it would be. So for me, I would go back and tell myself to relax because I was like stressing. I was,
Both of us.
yeah, both of us together were both stressing, like going over the leadership principles and the STAR method, like crazy. But it wasn't as bad as I expected. But they do have an intense process for like regular developers. But the apprenticeship process was super simple. It was basically behavioral for 4 rounds.
Yeah, no tech
No
assessment.
tech assessment at
and
all.
and the requirement, excuse me, at the time, I'm not sure how it is now because it's a lot of changes that has happened at Amazon. And so at the time it was like you had to have boot camp experience or military. And so it
Or
was
some type of college.
some type of college, yeah, or some type of
Self-taught.
self
Yeah,
taught.
yeah.
And so what was interesting about this process, again, she's an amazing researcher. And so we're not military or anything like that, but in the military application it had like military apprenticeship program.
Mm-hmm.
But once you click on the link and you read through, that was like we're also open
To
to
civilians.
civilians. And
Yeah.
so it was like mind blowing. And so
Yeah.
we both applied for that, and once we got in we was like basically the only people that wasn't military because you got to
A lot of
read.
people
You
don't
don't
read.
read
Yeah.
into the links. And so but yeah, it was mostly behavioral throughout the whole process. And so like I said earlier, using that STAR method,
Mm-hmm.
really leaning into the leadership principles,
Yes.
listening to the people that came before us, telling us and kind of giving us tips on how to what to say, how to speak, what to do when you get into the interview. And that really helped us. So it
Yeah.
wasn't any tech assessment, which was really a blessing because before Amazon, like she was like, I want to do Amazon because I want to do a tech assessment. For me, I was going through like all the different jobs. I had this job or this interview with this place called Net Health, and I had a tech assessment with them where it was like a whiteboard question 101. And it was bad. Like I failed miserably. And so I mean it was interesting. It was a learning. Like I was learning from the mistakes that I
Right.
made and a stepping stone. And so oftentimes what Gregorio would say is like use the interviews as a learning tool
Practice, yeah.
to practice. And that's the same thing they gave me as feedback, because I would ask about feedback and interview, and it was like the way you get better is you use the interviews as you learn. And so that really helped me in my process. But I was like, I gotta let go of these tech assessments for now. I'm gonna try with Amazon. And so that's what I did, and we got it. And so it was actually pretty interesting as well too, because she had found out she was pregnant in the midst of the process.
Oh yeah.
And so
Oh yeah.
she didn't tell me. She didn't tell me until after we found out until after I found out. She got the job first, and then I did. And so she didn't tell me till afterwards, because she didn't want me to be nervous or be, just all over the place. And so that was like an amazing feeling. Like I got the job, I got a baby on the way. Like it was amazing.
Our life was changing.
For sure.
Yeah, man, that's crazy. I have one other question. Oh no, it just disappeared. But you're in the apprenticeship program. Does that lead to a job after you complete it?
Yes. So the apprenticeship program is 1 year long. The first 17 weeks is basically like another boot camp. So the first 17 weeks, we're learning different languages, doing different projects on teams,
instructor led.
And then you go into the on the job training, where you actually get with your team that you're going to be on. So I'm on groceries, so I work with like Amazon Fresh, Amazon Go, and
I'm on kids' devices. So
yeah,
I'm
so he's working with
like
the tablet, the kids' tablets,
and the whole kids experience. It's really cool.
Yeah. So the rest of the program is on the job training. You're able to move into a SDE position before the year is up. If your manager feels like you're ready, they'll just move you up. You'll get a higher paying salary. But as far as if you just test it out and wait the whole year for the program, they have the option to release you or to keep you and turn you into a full-time SDE. But yeah, most people convert over with no problem. So yeah.
And with you having a baby, do you get maternity leave?
I do. What's funny is I go on, well, Friday. This Friday is my last day of work. So I start. Amazon offers prepartum leave, so they give you 4 weeks before you're due to just take off. They pay you 100%, and then you're able to do 10 weeks maternity leave. If you've been there longer than a year, I think you get like 16 weeks of maternity leave. But I hadn't been there a year. But I'm still grateful for the prepartum maternity leave.
And what's really great about Amazon too, they do offer paternity leave as well, but you have to be working there for a year in order to get it.
Yeah.
But the work-life balance
is so flexible.
It's flexible, so it wouldn't be an extra problem.
Yeah.
To say, and then working on the kids team, like they're very family driven, family oriented.
Right.
So it's
same with my team too.
Work-life balance, they promote that. So
that's so awesome. That's really great. Like that you get. I mean, those are really good maternity benefits. The United States is not one that has the best maternity benefits, so that's great to hear. And the fact that they have paternal maternity benefits, if you've been there more than a year, I think that's really great.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's really cool. And I love that it leads into a job. So you get to try it out, get a lot of experience, and able to decide if it's the right fit for you. So that's really cool.
Yeah.
And I also love that you read the details. And you were like, guess what? I can
right.
Right.
I can apply even though it says military on the top. I like that. That's awesome.
It's one other question. I don't know if that was the one that disappeared in the chat.
No, it's two.
Well, two, not questions.
You can ask. You can answer the one from scale to 1 to 10. How hard was the boot camp?
Okay. So let's see. Go ahead. You got a scale, a number?
I don't necessarily feel like it was. I wouldn't say it was like extremely difficult. It's just like doing anything else new. Like if you don't have any experience, it's just like learning a new language or learning how to drive, learning how to ride a bike. I don't. I wouldn't say like it was extremely difficult. I can't even put a number. Maybe like 6. I don't really.
So, in my opinion, I think where the difficulty comes from is the amount of time. Like, it's like you got all of this information that's compact into this amount of time. That's what kind of can make it difficult, because it's like you trying to process this thing, but then you moving on to the next thing, and it's like it's all coming together, piling up. So I think that's kind of where the difficulty comes from, just the build up of everything. I wouldn't necessarily like say the stuff is hard. It's more so like you got to put in a time commitment to learn it, and be like driven to do it. And so
I think, but just also in the boot camp, you have help from instructors. So if you feel like something is difficult, you just jump on the queue, ask the question. And I'm pretty sure you'll be getting on the queue multiple times. I got on the queue maybe 2-3 times a day just because I needed more help. So I feel like it can be difficult as far as, I guess, the not the complexity, but just like the fast pacedness of the program. But the instructors are there for help. Your cohort members, I would always ask cohort members for help as well. So it's not too bad. Do you think it's possible to work 2 remote jobs?
This question came up in a past interview, and the answer is still the same. I mean, it depends on like what your bandwidth is, and also what the company who hires you, because some companies don't allow you to work multiple jobs. So that's more of a personal thing, and we already talked about it in a past interview. So, and since we're running out of time, I want to focus on asking you guys my last question, which is, what advice would you give to someone who's considering joining Sabio's program and going through their boot camp?
Okay, I can get us started. For me, I always give the same advice, like every single time on info sessions or anything like that. I just always say, remember your why, because I know it's a lot of people joining that are probably in the same position that we were in. Like, I just need the hope, I need something to get me to a better place. And so I would say, remember your why. If you feel like it's getting difficult, don't quit. We had a good amount of people to quit our cohort, and just always remembering the why. Like, I'm here for this reason. I'm here for this reason, regardless of how difficult it may be right now. Just getting the help that you need, getting on the queue, and remembering why you're here. And so this is for the people, I guess, that were in the same position as we were. I do know people join the boot camp just to learn, and who are not necessarily in a bind, who need this. But for my advice, it would go to those people, like, to remember your why. Don't give up. Keep pushing.
So for me, it was the saying I had came across on social media, and it was more so the kids, but it definitely relates to this. It was like, don't give up, like on the bad days, on the worst days, where you feel like you're not being successful, where you feel like it's getting hard, where you feel like it's just taking you over. They were saying, if you would like to give up on the days where you feel like it's most successful, where you feel like you're doing the best, you're operating at the top velocity, and you moving fast, because you've already seen the potential, of what it looks like. And so if you quit during that time, it's more so like you quit because you content with what happened. But if you quit when it gets hard, then you don't know the where it could have taken you. And then another thing too is, like, I like to use this analogy that with Sabio is more so of like practice. Like in sports, you got practice, then you got the game. Sabio is more so practice. So it's like, why would nobody quits in practice. Practice is where you ask questions, where you ask the coach questions, where you ask the instructor questions, where you can make mistakes, where you fail. and where you learn. Like that's what it's all about. Sabio is all about learning, and they don't expect you to know, because for most people, they getting into this, making a career change or transition or something like that, never had coding experience at all, and so you don't quit in practice. And it's more so like, this is where you just take it all in and learn. And so don't give up, don't quit, and really just give it your all, and you'll definitely reap the results and the benefits just like we have.
Yeah.
And pretty soon, you'll be on this side of things and talking about your experience and giving advice and things like that. So
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time. I really enjoy getting a chance to talk to you guys. I'm so excited that it worked out, that it was the year anniversary of when you started Sabio, and we could talk about how your life has changed from, Uber and DoorDash to being able to support yourselves and live comfortably. So that's so awesome. So thank you so much.
Thank you
thank
for having
you.
us.
Pretty soon we're gonna start our own DoorDash, Uber Eats.